you say, oh, mommy, like, what about it? It's like, God forbid.
Yeah.
I will not die in the name of Jesus.
Live in Jesus' name.
I will live to, and it's like, you will live.
Amen.
But at the end of the day, baby,
let's get our affairs in order.
That's the only thing we're promised, is that we're going to go to the other side one day.
Yeah. Like, and what are your end of life preferences? God forbid we have to make a decision. What would you want to do? What are the things that we need you to do after you listen to this episode, after you've talked to your spouse? What are the next steps?
Welcome to
Marriage Pinnacles Chats from the Peak, where God's favorites link up. My name is Dr. Lara.
And I'm Memi.
And welcome to another episode of Chats from the Peak, where we talk about all things love, marriage, and healthy relationships, and everything sprinkled in between. If you're new here, thank you for joining us. We want to thank you for stumbling on our page or however you heard about it, maybe a clip or whatever. But stay a while. Become a peak seeker, join our peak seeker community, where we just are here to let you know that marriage is not dead. It is just a climb, baby. We do things here from a clinical lens, a cultural lens, and a little bit of life experience. So hit that notification bell and stay tuned for all the things that we have coming up. And so as we are at the top of the year and we've transitioned into 2026, I think that, at least for me, I've unfortunately had to hear that a lot of people that I know have lost loved ones. Mm-hmm. And we are millennials. You know, this year is a significant year for us. And I'll just leave it there. And
what a time to be alive.
Yeah, what a time to be alive. But the conversation of death is something that is getting louder, I would say. It's getting louder. Yeah. And we really have to get our affairs in order. Yeah. I mean, it is mandatory for us to get our affairs in order. Yeah. And it's not sexy and it's not fun. And it's something that we'd rather not talk about. But death is something that is inevitable. Yeah. It is the only thing that we can kind of count on. Yeah. But you know, what's even worse when we're thinking about death is when you're having to watch your family fall apart because people weren't prepared. Yeah. There wasn't money to support in the burial. Yeah. You can't afford to buy the plot of land or the tombstone or whatever the case may be. And no, this is not a episode where we're wishing bad on anybody. No, farthest from the truth. Mm-hmm. You know, I think the saying is, you know, don't use your mouth to spoil your destiny, right? But this is about protection. Simple. Yeah. Millennials, we are in a very unique position, right? We are the sandwich generation now, where we are taking care of our kids, but then we are also having to really support our parents as well. And I think that this is an episode where we really would like everyone, if you haven't already, to really be thinking ahead and thinking about the responsibility that really does fall on us. Yeah. And you may think you're too young to have this conversation. You may think this is not an episode I need to worry about, but honestly, you're probably the exact person who needs to be listening to this episode. For sure. So we're going to talk about what happens when you really don't have your stuff together.
Yeah. So I think it's unfortunate, but we've all heard of a family that's had this moment, right? Mm-hmm. Like that wake up call. Yeah. That kind of grips you to where someone has passed and you're grieving and fighting with family members simultaneously. Yeah. So it's a year of pain. Someone just passed. You love them. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you're fighting over money or who should get what or what belongs to who. Yeah. And everyone has an opinion on what they would have wanted. Mm-hmm. Like they would have never wanted this or they would have wanted things this way. And then you got the cousins coming out of the woodworks, the uncles, the aunties that we were close. Look at these text messages. I just checked on them. Mm-hmm. And it's grief is already heavy enough as it is. Mm-hmm. Like God knows grief is a lot to bear, but you should not have to add courtroom battles or living room brawls to your mourning process. That's you're literally just stacking trauma at that point, like trauma on top of trauma.
Absolutely. So, and unfortunately, that is the case for some people. There really is legal battles that happen, and that should be really the furthest thing that is really happening when you're having to experience grief. And that happens a lot of times when there's no will, right? There's no legal documentation to say how the estate should move with the passing of a person. And in some circumstances, the state will decide who gets what. It ain't you. It ain't your brother. It ain't your sister. It ain't nobody. A lot of times they will freeze the bank accounts, and that money sometimes is what you're using to pay for the funeral, whatever, when you don't have all of these documents easily accessible to you. And it really is possible for some random judge to make a decision on who raises the kids, God forbid.
Then they call it probate court?
Yes.
Yeah.
Medical decisions, these extreme circumstances that we don't ever wish to happen, but unfortunately do happen, when you don't have your affairs in order. And without a living will, strangers in a hospital will be deciding if a plug is pulled or not. And I want us to deep that, right? Like, you are having to make difficult decisions, and they're asking you, well, who has power of attorney? Who has this? Who has that? And you don't have any of that documentation. And then somebody who is not in your family, is not related to you, is making decisions that you should have a say in.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
It is. And I don't wish that on my worst enemy. But the reality of the situation is, in our culture, and I feel like it's African communities, I feel like it's African American communities, I feel like it's there's this thing where we just don't like talking about death.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about death. Like Lara said, we don't want to we don't want to use our mouth to spoil our destiny.
Yeah.
It's bad luck to say certain things. It's claiming negativity. Like, you say, oh, mommy, like, what about it? It's like, God forbid.
Yeah.
I will not die in the name of Jesus.
Live in Jesus' name.
I will live to, and it's like, you will live.
Amen.
But at the end of the day, baby,
let's get our affairs in order.
That's the only thing we're promised, is that we're going to go to the other side one day.
Yeah.
And the problem becomes, like, you've kind of been this saint and this prayer warrior and this person that is so positive and uplifting, but that's grandma, right? So but when grandma passes, nobody knows where the accounts are.
No.
Grandma got money in the walls we don't know about.
Literally.
It's money in the mattresses we don't know about. Life insurance that nobody knows about. Beneficiaries, husband, four or five husbands ago, still the beneficiary on the life. Like, it's just all these things that we just never addressed because of, God forbid, or we don't want to talk about it. And I think where we need to go is that faith and planning can go hand in hand. Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Like, just because we trust God does not mean we don't do the work. Absolutely. I think we've all heard that faith without works is dead. Part of that works is getting your affairs in order. Absolutely. Part of that works is getting an attorney, putting together a living will, putting together a power of attorney, understanding, putting together an estate, a trust. Like, these are all tools that God has given us to be able to be good stewards. Yeah, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And and so we are not experts by any means, right? This episode was really just, after hearing, just a sad story of a friend whose father passed away, and gratefully, they did have this in place.
Good.
They had some things in place, right? Not everything, but it sparked a conversation. And we were like, these are the things we need to talk about, because at the end of the day, yes, marriage, yes, we talk about love, but these are the things that come with it, the unexpected things that happen in marriage that you're not planning for, that you didn't prepare for, because who just has $50K sitting on a side
to pay for a funeral? Yeah. And that's how much they cost.
And they cost a hefty amount.
Yeah.
And so we're going to break down 4 non-negotiables that we think everybody should at least be in the mindset thinking about, right? And so we talked a little bit about that earlier, but that last will and testament, right? And this is not for rich people, guys. Like, that's what we hear. Oh, it's for the rich. It's for those who have like generational wealth and
only
all
white
that.
people do that.
Only white people do that.
We should all do that.
We should all do that. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
It is if you own anything that belongs to you, a car, a house, a property, jewelry, whatever the case may be, you should have a living will and testament. Who is going to get it?
Last will and testament.
Last will and testament. Who is going to get it? Who is going to get the jewelry? Who is going to get the house? Who is going to get the car? Who is going to get the money that's in the account X, Y, and Z? Who's going to get that? Who is your executor? So that is the person that you're going to pick that's going to be responsible for handling the business. Yeah. And this should not be based on favoritism. This is somebody who has sense.
Yes.
And that you trust.
Someone that that can run your affairs for you.
Yeah. So, it should not, your will really isn't about you being gone and dead. That's not what it's about. But it's a gift when you're able to say, this is exactly how I want things to happen. There's no cut cards. I'm laying it out for you to follow in my absence. And I think that is so important. And I think, so a friend of ours shared the website 5wishes.org. And this is a website where you can start the process there. It's an easy document, it's cost and effective that you can just start the process. So it's literally 5 wishes. 5 wishes I have after I pass. This is a place that I can memorialize this information to begin this process.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. And I think Lara kind of mentioned, of course, y'all know we're not lawyers, we're not attorneys, but we do want to have some attorney come on and kind of give more hands-on, like basically take what we're talking about today and like take it further and take it to the next level. So stay tuned for that on our virtual episodes. So the next thing that we want to that we think everyone needs to have is a living will and advance directive. So I think sometimes people confuse the wills. Yes. That's why I was like clarify that.
A little bit myself.
But the last will is after you pass. The living will is if you are still here but incapacitated and unable to make decisions for yourself. So it's called a living will or an advance directive. And this is what happens when you cannot speak for yourself. So this is when we get into the conversation about DNRs, do not resuscitate. Do you want to be on life support? And if you are open to that, how long would you want to be on life support? There was this case, medical case. It was a huge thing. Terry Schiavo. Terry Schiavo case.
Euthanasia case.
So her husband wanted her to be DNR'd, right? So she was on life support. Her husband wanted her to let her go peacefully. Her family wanted her on life support. They were in the hospital for 7 years battling whether or not to keep her on life support. And in reality, that decision is just not something, me personally, I don't think it's fair to put that type of decision on anyone that loves you in any form or fashion. I do think if you have your wishes and you feel certain ways about it, you need to go get your documentation and you need to make sure that you are the person that is making that decision for yourself. Because a mother is going to want to keep her baby.
Absolutely, every single time.
Here as long as possible.
Every single time.
So if that's not what you want, you have to be as clear as possible about that. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be the person who has to decide to unplug on their spouse. Don't give them that responsibility. Write it down so that they know what they want. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah. And even a step further, so then there's also the power of attorney, right? And so you can have a power of attorney for multiple things. Again, for somebody when you're not able to make those decisions on your own. And so there's a medical power of attorney. And so this is the person who helps you make medical decisions. There is the financial power of attorney. And so who pays your bills when you are incapacitated? And here's the kicker. Your spouse might not automatically have this authority. I'm the wife. Hey. I get to make the decision. Well, if the paperwork don't say that.
Girl.
If the paperwork don't say that.
And it's even easier when you're the wife. There's people that's been living together for
Common
20
law
years.
don't always apply.
Common law people.
It does not always apply. And that just goes to show that there are checks and balances for everything, right? Yeah. Love does not always give you legal authority. Right. Documentation does. Yeah. And that's period. So make sure that the person that you want on your paperwork is the person who's actually going to help you out.
And the fact of the matter is, we live in a very legalistic country.
Yeah.
America is a very court by the book. What is on paper matters.
Yes.
Over contracts.
Yes.
Like that is the land that we're living in. Yeah. So when you're in Rome, do as the Romans do and have all your paperwork. Yeah. And like when people say, "Oh, marriage is just a piece of paper," let me tell you something. Paper goes a long way in this country.
Yes, sure does.
So put it down on paper.
That's good.
I think this biggest one, which was actually a shocker for me, was beneficiary designations, right? Life insurance, 401k, retirement, bank accounts. So when I started working, I had a 401k from day one. My parents were the beneficiaries.
Yeah.
When I got married, I had to make sure I changed that to my husband, right? And there's a story, and I kind of talked about it loosely, but it was a real story where there was this wife, her husband passed away, and his ex-wife got the life insurance money. Because they never updated it. Yeah. Like, could you imagine that?
Jesus.
Like, you married a new person, but you never changed your documents. So you died and all that money is going to your ex. Jesus Christ. I'm sure they went to court and tried to figure it out, but who?
But that's who's on the paperwork.
For that? You know, who? And why would I want to be in court when I'm mourning the loss of, you're mourning the loss of your husband. Why would you want to be in court fighting about that? Because now his ex-wife is rolling in dough.
Yeah.
Well, she don't even probably bang with you, So get the beneficiaries.
Yeah.
Take a look at it. Yeah. You can go on your 401k account. This is a reminder. Like if you may have been divorced, you may want to take your ex off of it. You may have gotten married recently. You may want to update it to your husband. If you have kids, you may want to give your kids a little piece. I think mine is 50 to my husband and 25 to each of my kids. So if I have another kid, that 50, they're going to have to divvy it up.
All right, girl. All right. All right.
But so you could say one thing, but if your 401k says another thing, or the paperwork says another thing, paperwork is going to win every time.
Every single time.
And we learned in doing the research for this episode, we learned about POD accounts, so payable on death accounts. So this means you can go into your financial bank accounts, that's like your PNC, your Bank of America, and you can add your beneficiary to your bank accounts. Because another thing that happens is when you die, they freeze all your accounts.
Yeah.
So if you add that POD to your account, payable on death, that person still has access to your account. I need to go do that because we talked about this and I do it.
Neither one of us did. Yeah.
So the last time, and just to be real, like I check my beneficiaries when I do my enrollment, in my open enrollment once a year. So ask yourselves, tell us in the comments when was the last time that y'all checked y'all beneficiaries. So go check it today because that X from 2015 might still be on there.
Bro.
And if you die, they're getting paid. So you might want to go get that together. Yeah. So, so this is kind of heavy. I know that's what you guys are probably thinking. And it's heavy for us too. So you're thinking, how do we even have these conversations? Because these are hard conversations to have with your family, with your parents, and with your spouse. And so how do you kind of have these conversations, Dr. Lara?
So the most important thing is communication. You have to talk to your partner about this. And we know it's uncomfortable. You think, oh, am I going to jinx myself? But at the end of the day, real partnership is real preparation. Yeah. You are preparing for everything. Best case scenario, and unfortunately worst case scenario. Yeah. So you're discussing, babe, if something happens to me, where is everything? You talked about this. Even preparing for the episode, I was crying because I'm just like, there are so many things I do not know.
Yeah.
And God forbid, so it's not about jinxing it, but it's like, this is the battery in my back that I need to know where all of these things are.
Yeah.
Like, and what are your end of life preferences? God forbid we have to make a decision. What would you want? Nobody wants to have it. Like, we were talking when we started this episode about like our parents, but what about your husband? What about your wife? what would their wishes be?
Yeah.
Do they want to be? I think you were the one telling me that your parents said they want to be buried back home.
Oh yeah.
They're like, oh, ship me back, pay for the flight,
and
put me on a plane, take me back to my village, and bury me on my plot of land.
It's the village part for me,
bro.
Because like
that's a lot.
I don't even know. Like, okay, I understand getting to the Lagos airport, but from Murtala Muhammad, now how do we now get to Igara?
Think about it.
In Edo State.
I
don't know.
That's the thing.
That's tough.
Yeah,
but we need to talk about that.
Yeah, passwords to emails, to phones, to bank accounts, to all of those things, everything.
Yeah.
Putting it on a ledger and putting it in a safe, and everything is there.
Yeah.
And what are the important documents? The deeds to the houses, life insurance, passports, all of those things. So if you can talk to your partner about positions in the bedroom, turn it down and do it a little this way, turn it this way, turn it to the side. You can talk about your final wishes, okay? That's as intimate as it gets.
Turn it to the side is great.
Turn it to the side.
Yes, ma'am.
A little soft, a little hard. If you can do all that intimate talk
faster
about your body,
yeah,
have the conversation, because these conversations just build trust, not fear.
Yeah. That's good. And so I think even more difficult than the partner conversation is the parent conversation. Bro. Because again, we in the middle. So we talking to everybody. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So the problem with the parents is that they're stubborn. And it's and to my people that have to my people that have African parents, I feel like it's exponentially worse because you cannot tell these people anything. So it's for us is try to balance the respect that they need in order to have a conversation with them. You have to be respectful, but then balancing that with the practicality. So it's like, hey, Mom, I'm not trying to rush you. I'm trying to help you.
I'm trying to
help us, to be honest. Yeah. And so what if they refuse to plan? In reality, you can't force them. Yeah. But all you can do is just express your concerns and just continue to express your concerns. Let it be known, make it known, like, hey, Mom, like even after we planned for this, I asked my parents, like, do y'all got life insurance? And they were like, yeah, we do. Okay, so the next step is now I need to know where is it? Where is it? Who's it with? How much is it? Yeah. What does it cover? What would it not cover? Yeah. And my brother, he's like, I'm the oldest and my brother is the first son. So he tends to be more on top. Like they listen to him more than listening. Like they take me for a joke. Like they don't take me serious. But they take that for the first son. Like he's the one that kind of gets stuff done. So so if you do have siblings, like pick the best sibling for the job, to really get this done. And and so make sure, and again, my parents do have it, but if your parents don't have it, really, really get life insurance. It is very useful. It is going to be more expensive because they're older. But make that investment because it's going to cost you more in the long run. Absolutely. So love your parents enough to have this uncomfortable conversation. Sure. Because if you don't, the discomfort you feel now will be 100 times worse when they're gone and you just don't know what to do. Yeah. So. Yeah.
And so sometimes you might not be the firstborn, but you might be the one that's left behind. Yeah. And so you are, because not every firstborn is going to be equipped to handle stuff. Right. Do you know what I mean? But you now have been the person that's designated to carry the mantle. So now what? And so you are having to deal with grief, but then also this administrative responsibility. Yeah. And that is a lot. So you are crying because you lost this person that you love so much, and you're trying to plan a funeral, and you're trying to figure out who gets what and who gets paid this and who gets paid that. And you're having to organize everything. And it really is this final act of love. Yeah. It is something that you can offer because you still have your own obligations. You still have your own
life
family.
Don't stop for you.
Life does not stop. Yeah. And last year, I had to watch, last year and the year before, I had to watch my cousin navigate this. I had to watch my brother-in-law navigate this. I had to watch different people have to navigate. Again, my cousin is the firstborn. Yeah. My brother-in-law is the lastborn. And, and having to step up in such a major way to navigate these losses on top of their own responsibilities. And, I think that this is where I am super grateful about community, because a lot of times it's not about even being too proud to ask for help, but a lot of times there is community that wants to help and support you. And sometimes they just don't know how a lot of times. Financial a lot of times is the easiest, right?
Like, oh,
and I remember talking to a friend who helped prompt this episode. She was like, it was a blessing that they were in a position where they were able to take care of things financially. However, people still supported financially. But she was like, even more than that, sometimes it is the being there. It is my brain. I'm not thought about food. And so people are sending food to the house. I haven't thought about like needing to get out the house because I've been in the house for X amount of days, and somebody just saying, I'm coming over and I'm taking you out. Not even somewhere fancy, but just taking me out.
Getting me out the
house. And sometimes that is a support. So we will never stop talking about community. We talk about community. That's why we have this platform. But that is the beauty of community when you're able to rely on those people or even have them as support for you. And so the best gift that you can give your grieving family, the best gift is a folder that is labeled Start Here. And it has all of the documents that you need. It has where things can be found. It has the passwords. It has the accounts. It has the amount that I'm able to provide to you. So at least you have a starting point. That is a gift that no one earthside can take for granted. And so we have to make this real, right?
Practical.
Because we have to make it practical, but then also we need to understand that no, we are not wishing for any of this to happen. We want to keep reiterating that, but we have to make it practical, right? And so what do we need to do? What are the things that we need you to do after you listen to this episode, after you've talked to your spouse? What are the next steps?
Yeah. So we're going to give you guys some homework, okay? So the first thing that we want you to do this week is have the conversation with your spouse. No excuses. So y'all better be doing your weekly check-ins. So during your weekly check-in is a perfect time to have this conversation. And hey, babe, like how would you want to be buried? Would you want to be cremated? Would you want to be buried? How much do you have in your accounts? Like, be vulnerable, have these conversations. Talk about, check the beneficiaries, right? This month, give you a little bit more time, but get all your important documents in one place. Physical or digital, either one. I prefer physical because I'm old school. But get your bank account numbers, get your deeds, get your life insurance policies, get your important passwords, your 401k, everything that you've been working on your entire life, get it in one place. Okay. And this quarter, giving even more time, book an appointment or a consultation with an estate attorney. An attorney that specializes in last will testaments, living wills, advanced directives, power of attorneys. They should be around less than $500
for the consultation.
For the consultation, correct? Yes, the actual, they charge by hours and billing and all that stuff, so it could be pricey. But there are also programs through your work. Like I know Tala told me about the one that he has at his job. Like they'll give you like legal insurance. So check with your job. You might be able to use that as well. But yeah, make it a priority this year to get that stuff together. And right now, when you get off, tell one person where an important document is. And this month, when you have the conversation with your partner, I want you to also add your parents if your parents are still around. I would want you to still include them in that conversation as well.
That's good.
So yeah.
So we just want to reiterate that, estate planning isn't meant to be morbid, but it's just necessary. It's necessary. And we really want this not to feel like a heavy episode about death, but more about love and responsibility. Like when you love somebody, you're doing your best and your due diligence to make sure that all of the things that needed are put in place. And so it's easy to say, I'll do it later, but we really don't know. We do not know. And the thing is, you can be working to make all the money, but that money does not go with you. And so how much more can we make sure that the money that you did work for goes to the people that you love, goes to your children, goes to your spouse, goes to your parents, whoever, making sure that those things, because your future self and your surviving family will thank you.
For sure.
They will thank you.
For sure.
And so we know we have spent time and energy building these lives that will prayerfully last forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. We buy the house, we have the wedding, we have all of these things, but we can spend a day sitting down, protecting all of the things that we've worked so hard for. And that really is the point of this episode. We want all of us to get our affairs in order.
Yes.
So yes, and yes, and yes.
Do it. Do it for yourselves.
Do it for yourselves, okay? And, without having to kind of go down a rabbit hole, like, just think about it. You unfortunately pass. I want to leave you with this, and I'm so sorry to leave it on such a sour note.
No, but it's true.
It's the truth. You pass away, God forbid. Who are your children going to? Mm-hmm. It's not a conversation you want to have or to think about. But if you have children who are young, school-age children, yes, you have community. Yes, you have siblings. What sibling will take your child? Yeah. These are things that should be written down and documented because those are fights.
Oh, yeah.
So, sure. We want you to think about that. We're leaving it on that note. We want to thank you guys for this episode. We hope that you gleaned one thing from it. If you did, leave a comment for us and let us know. This has been another episode of Chats from the Pete. Take care.